Good evening and welcome to the first edition of the Gambia Maritime Administration Monthly TV Hour, live right here on QTV. Our oceans, our rivers, and our ports are the economic lifeline of the Gambia. But behind the bustling shipping lanes and maritime trade is a dedicated body working to keep our waters safe, secure, and legally sound. Over the next few months, this program will pull back the curtain on how we manage our maritime domain. Tonight, we start at the very beginning. Who is GMA? What is their legal mandate? And why does this work matter to you at home? To walk us through this, I am joined in the studio by a distinguished panel from the leadership of the Gambia Maritime Administration. Please welcome Mrs. Olimatu Danso Malang, Director General of Gambia Maritime Administration, Mr. Usman Toure, the Deputy Director General of GMA, and Mr. Falu C, Manager of Ship Registration and Seafarer Affairs, Gambia Maritime Administration. My name is Ibrahim Abba. I'll be your host for this program. Director General, mandate and core missions of GMA. How would you define the core mandate and functions of the GMA? And what is your primary mission in safeguarding and developing the Gambia's maritime domain?
Thank you, Mr. Ba, for having us today. As you said, this is, we cannot see the beginning, but one of the milestones that we want to create awareness for GMA in the country. We have been doing this, but we have stopped for some time, and we want to revive it. So today, as you said, we want to start at the beginning to remind people again who we are and why we are here. The core mandate of GMA, that is Gambia Maritime Administration, we are established by an Act of Parliament in 2006, and according to that Act, our core mandate is to regulate, monitor, develop the maritime industry of the Gambia. To summarize what I just said, because it's a big mandate, but to summarize it for the Gambian population is to protect the waterways of the Gambia. When we say to protect, maritime is divided into few folds. If we want to summarize our whole mandate, is for the safety and security of our waters. Gambia Maritime Administration, we are responsible for the security and safety of our waters, and also to drive a sustainable maritime development in the country. That is our mandate. For our mission, if you look at our mission under our development quad, it is reflected in our work to modernize the maritime infrastructure, strengthen human capacity, grow the maritime industry, and enhance GMA, that is Gambia Maritime Administration, as a regulatory institution. These four pillars guide GMA to ensure that the Gambia's waterways are safe, economically productive, and internationally compliant. As we all know that shipping is international. So one of our key pillars also to ensure that we are internationally compliant. Thank you. For the meantime, I think the Gambian people with this summary will understand exactly what we are all about. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. Before I move on to the next question, I just want to come back on the first one. When you say internationally compliant with what? What are we compliant with? And internationally, as in?
As I said when I was ending, my statement is shipping is international. Gambia Maritime Administration, we implement international conventions. Our headquarters is in UK, namely the International Maritime Organizations. That International Maritime Organization called IMO, they come up with all these international conventions. Member states will ratify. For dual state like the Gambia, a common law country, we domesticate. So the IMO will come up with all these convention so that to create standard, international standard for all member states to operate with. What you have in the Gambia concerning any kind of shipping, that's what you will find in Senegal, in UK, in France, in UK, and all over the world, because those conventions are created for member states to have what we call minimum standard. There are minimum standard we all where all member states will have to abide by. So that's why we said shipping is international. Those conventions will be ratified, will be domesticated and ratified, and member states will at least abide by the minimum standard, the minimum standard in those conventions. So that's why we said shipping is international.
Thank you, DG. I'll come back to you for that introduction on our mandate. I'll now move on to the Deputy Director General, Mr. Usman Toure. DDG, translating strategy to operations. We now turn on to the operational side. How does the GMA translate the high-level mandate set by the DG, as in the international conventions and the domestic regulations, into daily administration and field oversight? How do we operationalize these conventions and regulations?
Thank you very much, Mr. Ba. Good evening, viewers. My major job is to translate strategies, policies to daily operational activities. These strategies are emanated from, as the Director General alluded, from the International Maritime Organization, based on safety and security of life and property at sea. That is SOLAS 1974, Protocol 1978, and then you have MARPOL, Marine Pollution Prevention, 1973, Protocol 1978, that is prevention of marine environment from pollution by shipping and other platforms operating in the maritime domain. And you also have the third major pillar of the IMO instrument, that is the Center of Training Certification and Watchkeeping for Seafarers, 1978, Protocol 1990. And the fourth pillar is the MLC 2006 Maritime Labour Convention, 2006. This is a convention for protection of seafarers, their competencies, their number of hours work, repatriation, also generally the welfare of seafarers. These are the policies that GMA has in their books, and my major responsibility is to translate these policies into daily operations. How do we do it? We do it in three folds. That is the flag state implementation, admission of ship certificates if they want to adopt our flag. And when we admit them, we call for inspection. This inspection is to ensure that the ship is safe, and also the people within who are operating have the competence to be able to operate the ship, and the ship is also equipped enough to prevent marine pollution, and also the ship is operates in accordance with Maritime Labour Convention 2006, that they have adequate manpower. The people that are operating as per IMO minimum standard. Meanwhile, the IMO is International Maritime Organization minimum standard that they stated in the convention, and also that the seafarer is well taken care of. All the enumerations, the contract is in accordance with those instruments. And two, the second aspect is the port state control. That is for our flag state, ships that adopts our flag. You also have a responsibility to ensure that ships that visit the port of Banjul are in compliance with that international instruments. Even though they don't apply, they don't have your flag, but they are obliged to obey the national laws, that is regulation legislated by the Republic of the Gambia, and also the international instrument. You have to, that's why you have to check them to ensure that they are in compliance with the minimum safety environmental standard, as well as the competence of those who are manning the ship, and also the welfare of seafarers who are operating those things. Third, you have these coastal state responsibilities. This one we do in collaboration with other stakeholders, stakeholders in the enforcement sector like Gambia Navy, PURA, Gambia Port Authority, National Environment Agency, and also so for fisheries. Those are coastal state activities where you need to respond to maritime incidences, be it pollution or safety aspects. So these are key areas which I, as the Deputy Director General and the Head of Operation, will operate. We coordinate with stakeholders within. Those are the heads of department of the Gambia Maritime Administration, and as well as other state agencies that we have. We can work collaboratively to ensure that the coastal state activities are as per the minimum IMO standard.
Thank you very much, DDG. We will get back to some of those conventions that you stated. I'll now move on to the Ship Registry Manager and Seafarer Affairs, Mr. Falusi. DDG mentioned flag state implementation. Let's demystify a core concept. Flag state implementation. For viewers watching at home, what does it mean when a ship flies the Gambian flag? And what specific obligations do we assume as a flag state?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bah. Good evening, viewers. Yeah, before going further, I would like to explain what ship registration is. Ship registration is the protection and the recognition of title and the conferment of nationality to a ship. Why ship registration? The reason why ships are registered and given a nationality is, one, is to give them a nationality, to have a flag. Two, is also to protect them under international law. Three, is to that will also enable them to engage in lawful trade. And four, they would avoid arrest and detention. So if you look at ship registration, we can refer to UNCLOS under Article 94, which talks about duties of a flag state. And if you look at Article 94.1, which states that states shall have control and jurisdiction in the administrative, in the technical and social matters of the ship. So going further, if you go to Article 94.4, that is sub-Article 4, paragraph A, it states that every vessel, before registered under a flag, must be surveyed by a competent surveyor. So now these are things that are already in the law. So now coming back, now we're talking of ship registration. So you come back to Article 91, which states that every state shall fix conditions for vessels flying its flag, and there must be a genuine link. So that means in the Gambia, we are given the leverage to fix our own conditions that ship owners must fulfill before their ships are registered under the Gambian flag. And if you the same article is also saying there must be a genuine link. Genuine link is what? The relationship between the state and the ship. That means the state should be in a position to know the condition of the ship before the ship is registered. So now, if you the same Article 91 also is the same. If you read it together with Article 5 of the High Sea Convention, they're all talking of the same thing. Now, so one of the duties of the flag state is ship registration, giving it a nationality. So if you go to Article 87 of the same UNCLOS, it states freedom of the high sea, which means both landlocked and coastal state are equal if it comes to the high sea. That's why even countries that are not attached to the coast, they can register vessels. They can give them nationality. So since the high sea, we are all equal at the high sea. So now we come back to what do we do to a layman? What do we do at the ship registry? So since all these are mandates that a flag state does, so the same one of these mandates is registration of ships, which the administration is currently doing, and we operate an open registry where vessels from different parts of the world belonging to foreign owners could be registered under our flag. Now I will stop there. Then
okay. Before I get back to the DG, I just want to follow up on this. When you say conferment of nationality to a ship, we are talking about giving Gambian nationality to a particular ship. So, is it the same as the Gambia being the owners of these ships? Are we owners of Gambian registered ships, or is there a difference? Because I see people asking this question a lot. When did Gambia get all of these ships? Can we afford these ships? Can you just give us a little bit of enlightenment on the registration and the ownership? Because there's some little.
Thank you, Mr. Ba. Registration is the role of the administration. If it comes to ship registration, is only to give nationality. Now, since we operate in an open registry, that means there is no restriction on who can register a vessel under the Gambian flag. Foreign owners all over the world can register ships depending if they meet the requirement of the set out by the administration. So registering a ship and owning a ship are two different things. So ships, if you look at if you go to Section 12 of the Merchant Shipping Act, it states who can own a Gambian ship, and Section 12 says you have to be a Gambian. You have to be in partnership with a Gambian, or it has to be a company incorporated in the Gambia, or you have to be in a joint venture partnership with a Gambian. So these are the four categories of entities that can own a Gambian ship. So registering a ship and owning a ship are two different things. So the same thing applies. If you look at Section 12 of our Merchant Shipping Act, it also talks about who can how many people can own a ship. The Act is saying only 5 people can own a ship. Maximum number of people that can own a ship is 5. But there are 64 shares in a ship. If a company or an individual owns a ship, that means you own all the 64 shares. But 5 people maximum can own a ship. So the notion that these ships that are registered belongs to the Gambia is false. So ships are only registered by the Gambia, but they are not owned by the Gambia. We have very few Gambians that own ships, and these ships, most of them are fishing vessels, not convention vessels.
Thank you very much, Mr. C. I think that is an important point from your part. I'll get back to you later. I'll now come back to you, DG, with regards the strategic priorities, that is vision of the administration. Institutions must evolve to address dynamic global challenges. Looking at the maritime landscape in 2026, what are the key strategic pillars your office is prioritizing to drive institutional reform and growth.
Thank you, Mr. Ba. But I want to start with where Falu stopped about the registration. Every vessel is a legal entity. So a vessel is completely separated from an individual. They are legal, they have legal personality like how individuals have the legal status. So the registration and the ownership is completely different. If a foreign vessel registered with the Gambia decided to become a Gambian, to put it in the layman's language, naturalize. How a foreigner will come to the Gambia and naturalize and become a citizen. So if a vessel registered under the Gambian flag, now that vessel is a Gambian national, where Gambia will be responsible for that vessel. So that's why wherever the vessel is in any part of the world, anything that happened to the vessel, the first contact is the flag state, because it carries the nationality of that country. So the flag state is a very important function that which the ship registry is doing, and the connection is really tight. It's a legal connection. You become a national of the vessel, become the national of that country. So every responsibility about that vessel will fall back to the flag state. So any Gambian, any vessel that register as a flag, carrying our flag, is a Gambian national, and its responsibility is on the administration, by extension the Gambia. So that's what I want to add as to what Falu was saying, that they have the vessel has their own legal status. That's why they can become nationals of, like how foreign national will come to the Gambia and want to naturalize, or how Gambian will go to other countries and nationalize. That's how this flag registration goes by. The only interesting part that anytime you want to divorce with that nationality, there are procedures you follow, and then divorce yourself from the nationality of that state. Going back to your question, our strategic priorities or vision for 2026. 2026, our priorities, as you know, shipping is evolving and rapidly. So we also have to work towards that rapidness. So in 2026, we have 4 pillars that we think we can look at and align ourselves to the rapid development of the maritime sector. And one of these is the infrastructural development. Our plans for 2026, which will expand in 2027 because it's a long-term strategy, is to revitalize the River Gambia. Although we were very young, or we were not born when the River Gambia was a hub of transportation for most Gambians between Banjul and the hinterland. So Gambia Maritime Administration, one of our key pillars or strategy for 2026, will expand in 2027, is to revitalize the river. The revitalization of the river, the reason why I say it's a long-term goal, it involves a lot of things. You have to survey the river to see what is along the channel of the river. It's a long-term process. The technician will be able to see more. But one of our pillars is to revitalize the river again. The second priority is to see how we are going to develop the industry itself. The industry, maritime industry, is a little bit dormant in the Gambian context. If when we say maritime, they think of GPA, that is Gambia Ports Authority. Anything that has to do with maritime, people think it's the Ports Authority. So we also want to look at that area. And one of the areas we want to look at is ship repairs. The shipyard is normal. Although we are not GMA is not the institution that should establish shipyard, but we are responsible for the facilitation. Because if you look at our function when it comes to this vessel that Mr. Falusi was talking about, this conventional vessel coming in and out, or even our the local vessel that we have down here. At times you go for port state control. I think Falu will dwell on that, or DDG. We have a department responsible for safety and security. They go for what we call port state control. They will come across with some of these deficiencies. They cannot be resolved here. They cannot be resolved here. You have to let that vessel to go to to the next port to resolve that. Some of them are so serious, we cannot even leave the vessel to go. The vessel owners have to get somebody outside the Gambia to come and do that. With a shipyard, all of these things can be resolved here. Most of these things, when they happen, that the vessel cannot go without resolving some of those deficiencies, they fall back on Senegal. That is an economic development that will contribute to our economy, to our GDP. We can have some of those things in place where these vessels, when we come over with these deficiencies, they can be fixed here, rather than getting somebody from Senegal, or you ask the vessel to move to the next port to resolve the matter there. It will create employment. Economically, is good for us. It will create employment for our youths to be there. So one of our strategic plan to develop the industry is to bring back the shipyard, because I understand maybe we were not around when the shipyard was here. There was a shipyard, but we are trying to facilitate to bring back shipyard into our development. So for the registration of conventional vessel, to enhance the registration of this conventional vessel and our local vessel, as they were talking about the flag state responsibility and the port state responsibility. So we are also trying to work on that so that the industry can develop. Because if you have more vessel, for example, on the port state, if you have more vessel on your registry, the more open you are to the world. But it's a very dynamic area. Mr. Falusi will talk about how dynamic that industry is.
That's the flag state.
That is the port state, where we have other flag state, vessel registration, where vessel to become nationals of the Gambia, to carry our flags around. So it's a very dynamic area. So we want to expand it, but it comes with a lot of things that we need to put in place. And by growing that, we create a lot of employment, a lot of economical development in the country, in the economic of the Gambia, and creation of job employment. Because Falu, I don't want to delve into Falu's area, but if you see all this registration of this vessel to become to carry our flag, you have a lot of local agents who are engaged in that business. So we want to enhance the registration of vessels, both locally and internationally. Our third priority is capacity building. We need to, if we want to expand the shipping industry in the Gambia, we need to have capacity. And that capacity development, we are working on it. We are training our staffs. We have this Scholars Engineering Award program with the Ministry of Transport, that is our line ministry, which we are also championing to have more capacity development. Internally, we are training our people so that they can be on the same level with the rest of the world. Because shipping, if you avoid capacity development, we cannot go, because we will not be in the Gambia thinking that we have to be contented with the small space we have. But shipping, fortunately or unfortunately, is an international, is a national avenue. You have to build the capacity of your people so that they can, as we said, shipping is evolving rapidly, so that we can also catch up. So capacity development is part of it. That's why we are fully supporting the scholars engineering with the ministry. We are training our people. We have more than 10 people who we are training at RMU, that is the Regional Maritime University. We are doing. So
these are Gambia Maritime Administration staff or?
Both Gambia Maritime Administration staff. We have Gambia Maritime Administration staff. We have just fresh grade 12 leavers who are going through the Scholars Engineering Award with the ministry. We are also facilitating training for Gambia Navy, because Gambia Navy, they are our enforcement arm. So we cannot grow our human resources and leave them behind. So with the Gambia Navy too, we are trying to help to, we are even already training 2 people at degree level at RMU, that is the Regional Maritime University. Institutional strengthening, we are trying to do institutional strengthening. When we say we want to expand or follow the evolving, how the maritime sector is evolving, we have to strengthen our institutions or our departments. One of those ones is the ship registry. The ship registry for that one is totally international, especially with the conventional vessel. We cannot continue with the manual, with doing things manually. We need to digitalize. And right now, one of the core pillars or strategy of the administration in 2020 is the digitalization of the ship registry. We are, at least we can see 60% onward, and we believe by 2027 we will be able to digitalize the ship registry completely. And we are also working to strengthen the whole of the whole administration to be on that digital level. So we are also doing that. And the other thing, we believe if we strengthen all these things, GME will be future ready.
Good.
Our plan is to make us to be ready for the future. And with these 4 pillars, that is institutional development, human resources development, industrial growth, and the institutional strengthening, we believe we will be future ready for the maritime industry, here and outside the Gambia. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, DG. I'll get back to you. I'll now move on to the Deputy Director General once again. DDG, we will still come back to the issue of operationalizing some of these mandates at the department level, the various departments. Let's talk about safety and competitiveness. How do you strike a balance between maintaining the strict, uncompromising safety standards for the public and keeping Gambian shipping competitive and attractive for trade?
Okay. Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Safety is one of the major pillars of this institution, that is Gambia Maritime Administration, simply because I have deliberated on the 4 major conventions. He has other conventions, but all of them are offset of these 4. And one of the critical conventions of IMO is SOLAS, 1974, 1978, safety and security of life and property at sea. So we have 2 operational acts in which this administration is working with. That is the Merchant Shipping Act 2013 and the Marine Policy Act 2013. So merchant shipping entails safety and registration of vessels, because as the ship registry manager said, when you admit, when applications are admitted for registration of ships, the first that we see after verifying all what they should record, the genuineness and the cleanliness, the encumbrances and everything, and they establish the relationship between the ship and the owner, that the owner actually is free, the the ship is a freehold, for example, what we do next is safety enforcement. That is through flag state inspection. This inspection is done on board the ship by our surveyors, if it is within the jurisdiction here. Outside the jurisdiction, we have recognized organizations that step in on our behalf to holistically survey the vessel. The vessel will be surveyed from deck, from the captain bridge to the keel of the vessel. The keel is the backbone of the ship. And when everything is done as per the minimum IMO requirements, if it is here, then it will be admitted to the Office of the Director General, seeking approval if the ship passes the relevant national regulation. And then when the ship passes, then it will be written to the Director General for the Director General to give approval for that ship to be registered. You know, that is within. Outside also, the recognized organization will step in on behalf of our surveyor. You have to have international IMO recognized organization that will have to do the surveys for you. For example, a vessel in Indonesia, I don't think economically viable for you to ferry all your surveys to Indonesia and do the surveys. You have to have competent recognized organizations who are strategically located globally to be able to access the ship, survey it, and then bring those survey report to the register, and it will forward it to the Office of the Director General for approval. When she approves it, then the ship will be processed and it will be part of our national registry. So that is what we do. When it comes to competitiveness, you have to look at the shipping something holistic. You are not alone in the sector. What can you do to make yours attractive without compromising the safety standard? Because we all belong to the same standard as DGR load, the minimum IMO safety standard. It has to be met by all members. So what next? What do you think you can provide more than others so that international owners can come and register with your ship? Is to make it easier. Lesser bureaucratic processes, digitalization of these things, and also bring your revenue, all the statutory aspect that you undergo. Yes, it's a tedious thing, but you have to bring it down so that if you have 2 boats and you have 100, 2 times 100 is more than you have 200 and you have 3 ships. So economically, you have to look at that thing economically, and bring yours down. Also make it available, accessible. If you look at the operation of the ship registry, everybody goes home. They are there after 7 o'clock. That's shipping for you, because owner can apply this thing anytime. So you have to make these things available and also digitalize it. Also cut down the bureaucratic so that at the end of the day they get what you want, and that's what we do. Safety is almost at this minimum standard, although different jurisdictions, different level of safety, but the minimum standard should be met by all members. So what is critical is the way your accessibility, the statutory fees that you presented, and also how can you shorten the period, because ship owners, they don't have time. They are very impatient with time. The more, if you delay them, they don't care to go to the highest bidder and mine, because they want to get the certificate students and then get away and go and operate. So that is the difference. That's where we're coming from. Ours is very, very. We have edge over others, apart from having the same level of safety. So that ours is very competitive when it comes to economic aspect of time, lesser money for the registration and all those stuff. So that's what.
Thank you, Diriji. I just want to come back to one or two things that you mentioned earlier on with regards to the inspection.
Yeah.
You mentioned the captain's bridge and the keel of the ship. When you say the captain's bridge and the keel of the ship by a layman's term or standard, what are you talking about?
You know, ships are divided into two domains. First domain is the captain bridge and the deck. The captain bridge will have all the equipment, just like when you're in a car, you have your indicators, you have your wheel and everything, the signals, you know, the way you have the windshield, show you the way. As captain bridge is also having equipment. Those equipment will show you have the radar, you have the chart, electronic chart displayed, so that it can show you the way. Those are the equipment that we see whether they are functioning. If they are functioning, are they in good state for operability? The people who are operating that, do they have the requisite knowledge to be able to operate that? And then you have also the deck, where you have the cargo. Cargo is the most important, because this is cargo ships are operating. If the cargo, where the confinement of cargo is not in good shape, then that ship should not operate. So you look at the cargo also area, the deck, all the deck equipment, the cargo area, we check that. If it's as per the international standard, when we are okay with it, we go below, that's below the water, we go to the engine room. The next department will be the engine room department, headed by chief engineer. We look at the meanwhile, the captain's competence, we look at it and see the captain is required, how each and every ship has category for this thing, for money. When all those things are, that is MLC 22006 said, then we go from there, from the deck, we go to the engine room. Both the equipment also will be assessed, so be thoroughly inspected, because that is the place where everything is involved. Even the bridge sensors, everything is powered from the engine room. Yes, that is the heart of the ship. So you have to go thoroughly, and even though it's a hostile environment, it's very hot here and there, but you have to do your due diligence with each and every equipment, especially those equipment that carry certain fluids or storage tanks, chemicals, and you have to know as per animals and are they operating, because we don't want even a minute drop of all those stuff into our waters. It's very detrimental to our ecosystem. After checking all those things, then you also have to, I made mention of the keel. The keel is the backbone, is the structural body where it makes all projection, all things are projected. Is the metal work up to the captain bridge starts from the keel. It's from the keel that you develop your ship up to the bridge. So the keel has to be inspected. Also the hull, that is the body of the ship, to see to it that it is intact. Adjacent pipelines, or have any discharge been done within the jurisdiction? All those stuff have been checked. If you're okay, then you're good to go. Then we mark you, then you pass that test. And meanwhile, this is done to both our national ships and also ships calling to the port of Banjul. Yeah.
Thank you, DDG, for that explanation with regards inspection, and that's both for port state and flag state implementation. Yeah. Viewers, you are watching the Maritime Hour on QTV, your maiden edition, brought to you by Gambia Maritime Administration. We have 10 minutes, by the way. We will go back to the ship registry manager, Mr. Falusi, to tell us more about the registration process. Mr. C, can you just give us a rundown of the types of ship registration and what are the role of recognized organizations in the whole process?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ba. Yeah, the different types of ship registry that we, as a maritime administration, do. Here, we normally start with the provisional registration. When a ship owner outside the Gambia wants to register a ship that is not in the Gambia, the ship owner normally applies for provisional registration. And provisional registration, in a layman's language, is short-term registration. Pursuant to Section 45 of the Merchant Shipping Act, it states that if a ship is in a state where the registrar of ship is not within that state, so the registrar has to issue what we call a provisional certificate of registry to enable the ship to move from that point to come to the Gambia for inspection or permanent registration. And in order for a ship to be given provisional registration, Section 45 is saying you have to submit 2 documents. One is the declaration of ownership, a declaration to show proof of ownership. Then 2 is also saying a declaration to show there is a clause of registration. That means you have to delete from the other flag before you can register under the Gambian flag. The same was also could be stated under Section 90, under Article 92 of UNCLOS, which says that a vessel can only fly 1 flag at a time. You cannot fly 2 flags simultaneously. This is how ship registration is done. Nationality is one, so you cannot have 2. You cannot have dual nationality. So once you fulfill these things, you make an application to the Director General, and from the Director General, this application is normally sent to the Registry Department. When it comes, we do due diligence and make sure these 2 documents, which are stated in the law, are part of whatever you are submitting. If that is fulfilled, then from there we give you provisional registration. And this provisional registry lasts for 3 months, or when the vessel reaches the port of Banjul, or when a permanent certificate of registry is issued. So these 3 months, if it doesn't, after 3 months, it elapses. Or the vessel is given provisional, after 2-3 days, it reaches the port of Banjul, it also expires. That's the end of the certificate. Or an inspection is carried out, and a permanent certificate of registry is issued out, then that's the end of the provisional registry. Then now, from provisional, then we go to permanent. This is when the vessel is fully registered under the Gambian flag. And this can only be done after a flag state inspection or survey is carried out. The difference between the 2 is provisional, no inspection. Permanent, inspection must be carried out. And if you look at UNCLOS, Article 94, sub-article 4, paragraph A, it states that for a vessel to be registered, it needs to be inspected or surveyed by a competent surveyor. That's after that survey and the report recommends for registration, that's the time we register under the, give it a permanent registration. Now this thing, after giving a permanent registration, then the vessel is fully under the Gambia. That is a fully flag Gambian registered vessel. And this certificate is valid for 5 years. Then the other thing that we also do is what we call permit to operate. Permit to operate, if you go to the Local Trades Regulation 2014, if you go to Regulation 3, Regulation 3 states that subject to this regulation, a foreign vessel that wants to operate or do any trade in our waters needs to be given a permit to operate license. That's what Regulation 3 is saying. Then if you go to Regulation 10.1 of the same regulation, it states only Gambian seafarers are to be engaged in if a vessel wants to operate on permit to operate. Only Gambians. But 10.2 is also saying if the vessel wants to engage foreign crew, it has to get exemption. And this exemption is only given to positions that cannot be filled by Gambians. If the positions could be filled by Gambians, you cannot give it to a foreign officer or a foreign crew member. And in most cases, these are positions of officers. But ratings, those are non-officers, mostly you can get them from the Gambia. So now we go to what we call AROs, as it was explained by the DDG. What are AROs? Before we can explain AROs, we first need to know what is a classification society. A classification society, by definition, is an organization that develops and also applies technical standards on design, construction, and survey of ships. So if a classification does, classification society does this, so what is an ARO now? So if you go by the ARO code, a classification society can only be become an ARO if it is recognized by a state. So this shows that you can only be an ARO if you are already a classification society. As the saying goes, all AROs are classification societies, but not all classification societies are AROs. So the ARO must be the classification must be recognized by the state before it becomes an ARO. How do we do that? So when a classification society wants to be recognized by the Gambia, you normally file in an application. And in that application, you attach all supporting documents. It goes to the Director General. Then from the Director General, it goes to the ARO committee, which is headed by the Deputy Director General. Yeah, Deputy Director General. So at the when it comes to the Deputy Director General now will engage the ARO committee. And the ARO committee will look at these documents and scrutinize them. Then once the ARO committee is satisfied, then the next stage is to do an audit.
Scrutinize them, yeah, and then audit.
And audit.
We will move on to audit another time. Manager, Civ Registry. We only have 3 minutes more. So we hold it there with regards to classification societies and recognized organizations. Mm-hmm. The audit will come up another time. I'll go back to DG to wrap up. As far as the Gambia Maritime Administration is concerned, can we talk about briefly, a minute, what are the economic contributions and the blue economy in terms of the maritime industry? And what is GMA doing it? DG.
The GMA wants to be a driver of the national economic growth by unlocking the blue economy. By unlocking the blue economy is a little bit capital intensive, but that did not take us back. GMA, we decided to unlock it and start with the less capital intensive projects. So one of those capital intensive projects is the revitalization of the river. If we revitalize the river, we'll encourage local tourism, where people will have these cruise boats where they will cruise from Banjul to the length and breadth of the river Gambia. By doing that, economically you are developing the economic sector. You are creating employment. You are opening the hinterland. If you go to these wharf towns, most of them now are dead. We want to revive the wharf towns again and bring development to the doorstep of those people. And by doing so, we believe, that's why we are working so hard to revitalize the river again. This back way, illegal migration, will be able to cope it. If you revitalize the river, you create employment, you have those who have come back again. You have this local tourism, you have these small hotels now growing up back into it. Gambians now will be interested to go and know what is Gambia all about, because they know now we can go through the river, not hustling for 6 hours to go up from here to Banjul. If I go, we will encourage the tourism sector too to invest, because it's going to be a PPP project. You encourage the tourism sector, people in the players in the tourism sector, to come back and play their tourism role in there. We will stop here. Maybe when we have time, we will be able to develop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The DG revitalization of the River Gambia will be coming up as one of the key priorities of Gambia Maritime Administration. It is clear that the work of Gambia Maritime Administration stretches far beyond the docks. It affects our economy, our security, and standing on the global stage. Make sure to tune in next month on September 5th, where we will dive into the critical step of maritime safety, security, and protection of the marine environment. Until then, on behalf of the production team and QTV, I am your host, Ibrahim Eba. We thank you and have a wonderful evening.